We are live. Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 13. And today we have less topic than usual because life happens. And we got the same co-host as usual. You can now present yourself.
Yep, as usual, Cole. And maybe we'll get someone else on here eventually. I do have somebody in mind who might be able to show up to one of these, possibly. Let
On
you know,
Mondays?
but yeah, possibly at this time.
That's
But yeah,
good.
or since the next time film does it, which I guess next week or tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he had delays, so I guess tomorrow or next week, like he'll do his stream if it's not delayed again, and maybe write it since it will end right after. I could just ask him to hop onto this. We'll see, but yeah,
That sounds great, man.
no guarantees,
Do
but
you know
yeah.
if he has a Discord? Because, as I said, I'm not quite good with StreamYard.
He does, but again, the people in this community, they don't really use Discord. I used to use Discord 24/7, loved it, but just like how I do with like Letterbox now, but all the people that I've kind of spoken to on Discord, I don't speak to anymore because life happens and I get busy, and then now the people in this community that I do so more often, yeah, they just like using Twitter, but I mean, even if he doesn't, he could just make an account. So I'll
Yeah.
ask him. But yeah, the main thing is if he, because he probably hasn't like fucking watched She-Hulk, and if he did, he probably given up and stuff. So I would have to know
That
if like
that could be
if he knows the
interesting.
topics or not. Yeah,
That could be
yeah. I mean,
interesting. That
yeah. I mean, if not, then he accepted the invite. What we could do maybe is just have like a special stream, where
yeah.
we'll just change up the topics from for that day,
Yeah.
maybe two streams in a row, or then the day after, we could do the regular one. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah,
A
basically what
special
happened though
episode.
was, oh yeah,
I like the
fucking
idea. I like the
the
idea
dumb,
so much.
yep, but yeah, I mean the dumbass I fucking lived with. Forgot to give the guy the rent money, so I had to like talk to him, and then I have to later fucking search where she fucking play. She keeps placing it in different fucking spots around the place. It's like up. It's like, are we playing hide and seek? Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah.
It's
So
like
that's what
hiding drugs.
happened.
It's like hiding
Yeah.
drugs,
So
man.
that's what happened. And usually I watch the Stargirl episode right before doing this, so so then I couldn't, and then got late to this anyway. So yeah, so next stream we're gonna review two Stargirl episodes in a row. So that will be
Yeah.
fantastic, and I'm definitely gonna write some notes down for that. But
I'm
oh god, the
telling
last
you,
episode, the
whiteout
fight scene in that
spoiler.
last episode.
Whiteout spoiler episode 4 was a blast. It's not as action packed, but it was good. Regardless, it was
Are
good.
excited, but yeah, god, the action scene fucking from the last episode, that was just incredible. Oh my,
And I heard
like,
that the same person that made that episode will make another episode. I believe it's like episode 5 or episode 6. So either this week or next week, we will
oh
have the same
nice.
person in charge. So
Thank
expect
God.
some great
I'm
action
I'm gonna
piece
check
there.
out the director on that episode on IMDb and see if he's like made any films before, because yeah, I'll definitely check those out. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Stargirl though just is becoming my favorite CW show now, because Doom Patrol and stuff like that, that's like HBO Max basically. I don't really count. Like the only competitor for me for CW that I really like loved was Superman and Lois. But the thing
Yeah.
is with Superman and Lois, I would say it's more of a fluke because it does follow all of like the things other CW shows do that do so poorly in like many other CW shows, but it just happened to work out with Superman and Lois, so because because what they do with their other shows is what makes Superman as a character interesting, just trying to live his life as a regular person and stuff like that. So it was kind of just like a coincidence and a fluke. Well, this is clearly made by people who are just know what they're doing with the fight choreography, the
Yeah.
writing, the
Yeah.
acting is so fucking great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. For real, so far, I think this is my favorite season. This is the
Oh
season
yeah.
where I mark down the most likes. So, I prefer the tone of season 2, I will be honest here, but I still enjoy a lot this season so far because I like darker tone, and that's my cup of tea. I like it when it's more serious, more dark, and uh, season 3 is much more light-hearted, but it's just a blast regardless. It's amazing, and they did so much so far. Like I've seen a common complaint that some people say, "Oh, some of the supporting cast don't get enough material," and I can understand where they are coming from, but I feel like they neglect what we are currently getting because it's not really going the way they want. And at some extent, I couldn't understand if I really wanted to see more Yolanda or more Rick, but I feel like we will get more Rick, like Rick and Cameron Icicle. They had some kind of little fight in the classroom in episode 3, I believe, or episode 2. I can't remember. Like, Icicle was basically giving shit to the teacher, and then Rick is like, "What are you doing, jerk?" So, do you remember that scene?
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't know. My memory's kind of like on and off when it comes to TV shows in comparison to films, but I believe I know which one you're talking about. And
Yeah,
also the
so
scene with like just pushing over everything, just
because of that
talking
scene,
over.
I know they will do something with Rick and Cameron, you see, and yeah, it's just a blast, Stargale, and it also feels so good because it's the same day as
Yeah.
She-Hulk. So basically,
Oh
we suffered through She-Hulk, and then we have the candy at the end.
yeah, Jesus Christ. Or it's like you try to commit suicide by drinking a bunch of poison, and then they give you a bunch of charcoal afterwards to cure it. Jesus Christ. Uh, but yeah, I mean with Cam and whatnot. Yeah, I probably obviously become a villain now at this point, but I, I hope they don't do it in the other route they did though. I hope like what they do is they spread. It doesn't just like it's not a story that just ends after this season. I hope it continues and see if there's a season 4
Yeah,
continues in season 4. That or what I hope is he'll partly become a villain, do villain things, but unlike the others, like it'll be like more 50-50, and he'll be kind of like friends with some hero, and they'll like try to lean him towards
the good
not
side.
doing so.
Yeah.
Yes, and if that's the case, he'll probably die at the end. But
So, like, without any spoiler for episode 4, I will tell you this: there's a lot of scene with Cameron, so we get
love
to
that,
see
love that.
more, and that's great. But parts of it, I'm a bit worried. I really hope they just plant that seed to scare you off, and then they subvert your expectation. I really hope they will do that, but we will see how it goes with that. I like
Hmm.
when they subvert my expectation. It's always great if it's well handled by good writer, and so far we have good writer with this show. So
Yeah.
if they can subvert my expectation, I will be so happy and glad, So I'm looking
Hmm.
forward. I cannot wait for this week episode. Basically, it will be a blast. Like I
Oh
really
yeah.
enjoy the show, man.
Hmm.
Season 1 and 2 were a blast for me, but season 3, I feel like season 3 is doing more of what we had, but a different way, so it feels fresh and new, and it's another building block, and that other building block is essential and well handled. So when I hear some people not really liking what's going on with season 3, I'm like, are we watching the same show? Do we have the same sense of critical thinking about writing and
Yeah. I
character growth?
really, I really think it's because like, how do I say it? It's like, look, with MCU fans, here's the thing. Obviously, we talked before. They just haven't branched out enough. That's one thing. But another thing is, even though they're wrong and it's like the same fucking shit every time in the same formula, what they view in each film and show is a different genre. And I think what is the case with She-Hulk, while they give it free passes, is I think what the show's trying to accomplish is, which it also partly is, but it's just not. It doesn't do a good job at it either. Is just the typical like female like comedy drama type gossip
Yeah.
show or film that we've seen many times before. Stuff like Girls Trip and stuff, and probably most of the majority of the people watching MCU haven't seen really any of those before though themselves or know about it, so they can't really compare. So they kind of like give it free passes, like, well, I mean, it's not really my type of genre, just like how Miss Marvel is more for teens and stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it I'm gonna give it some leeway and stuff. And I think that's what they are doing, and I think that's what they do with almost like every fucking thing. Same thing with Eternals and all of it. That's the
Yeah.
MCU. That's
But
the MCU sheep.
yeah, I will say this about Miss Marvel. It's mediocre at best, but here's the thing. I wasn't really pissed or angry as much as I am with She-Hulk because I was seeing them trying something and they tried. They had bad writer for sure. They had really bad
Oh yeah,
writer. It was
yeah.
poorly
The
handled.
villain sucked.
It, the thing is, they tried something, and I think Miss Marvel as a character was likable enough for me to sell me ticket to go see the Marvels.
Oh yeah. In
And
my opinion, the show was just bad and poorly done, but the actress literally carried it from
yeah,
being like at least somewhat watchable and enjoyable. That kept me watching each week.
exactly. And I just cannot say the same with She-Hulk. In
Huh.
She-Hulk, I know for a fact it's not the actress because the actress is just doing her job, and I can tell because I see the writing. The writing is on the wall with She-Hulk. Man, they call it a comedy. This episode I was smashing my head on the desk, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you compare it to Love and Thunder, where you laugh a total of 0 times, and I guess the 3 times you laugh in this is considered a comedy.
Yeah, well, it's two. It's not even three. Like I will dig up my notes. So
Dude, it's not even 3.
my
God,
smile
but yeah,
count.
the actress in this is very good as well, like Miss Marvel. But unlike that show, she can't carry it to at least being watchable and enjoyable, honestly, because with this character, there's not much breathing room to do that with, especially when she's mostly like CGI the whole time. It's like you can't really get that same performance, which is why it doesn't get the same free pass for me. But
And the writing. I think the writing is the thing that bothered me the most about She-Hulk in every aspect. The dialogue feel fake. The dialogue doesn't feel real. The character are not character. They are insert from the writers. And I repeat myself each single week. It's just the thing is, with Miss Marvel, she felt like a character. Yes, the actress performed well, but I do think on the writing standpoint, Miss Marvel as a character was much more likable and she was much better in every aspect. What really went wrong with Miss Marvel is the surrounding, the story. But with She Hulk, everything goes wrong. The character, the story, the surrounding, everything. Nothing works with She Hulk. It's so sad. They waste potential. They waste skills and talents, and we are now 6 episodes in, and I didn't update in my smile or laugh count because I didn't smile or laugh this week.
yeah,
It was dreading. It was hands down the worst episode we got so far. And
uh, I would say second worst. I would say that like
what's the
fourth
worst for
episode
you?
or whatnot is that fourth episode and whatnot is still oh so painful. Like fucking one out of 10 or 1.5 at best. And the first episode I still think is like people gave it leeway because it's the first episode. It's building up shit, but there
Yeah.
was literally nothing in that first episode. Nothing. And oh, that fucking house she got her house a fucking car crash and a cut bleed. Oh my god. Like honestly, that might be in the running as well. Honestly, I would say this episode and the first episodes are pretty much like the sixth episode. Yeah, those are two are like tied with each other for the second worst. But yeah, there was like not Now, I'll give it one thing, alright? I do like the idea of, like, the ideas what they, tried to do in this, even though the execution was horrible, as always, and it was, shit as always. Unlike the last episodes, I didn't care like what the story was even like going towards what they were doing. It's like it wasn't interesting. It was just stupid. But this like the thing with like the wedding and her being like I don't want you as like She-Hulk there. You steal the spotlight. I
Yeah,
don't like you She-Hulk. And then like
that
telling her to transform back to her human self and all that, and the conversations with her friends. That like again, I like the idea of that at least. Like it was poorly executed the hell, but I liked what they tried there. It's sort of like what they kind of did in like The Boys in one episode in season 1. Like so, I'll at least give it some credit there. But
yeah.
and again, this episode really highlights the bad writing because the conversations with everyone and everything in this episode. Like this episode is literally boils down to is the right just the writing. The writing has to be good in an episode like this, or it completely fails. Because that's
Yeah.
like 95% of this episode, and with like the fucking premise and everything, it's horrible. So yeah, this was trash.
This episode was filler. And I will say this, like, your worst is fourth, but I actually remember in the fourth episode, that was the last episode with Wong. And just because of Wong, I think that episode was better than what we got today. And
Oh,
this is
actually,
funny.
good point. Actually,
We had
and
Wong.
there was at least one break in the fourth wall joke that was somewhat, well, not passable, almost. Damn.
Did,
Well, at least we got Mr. Immortal. Yippee!
yeah, it was actually entertaining. I won't say it was funny because it wasn't, but it was entertaining. I will say this. Like, the idea was really cool, and if it was handled by a better writer, man, all the joke they could do. And this is funny because just before streaming right now, I was watching Torias Unlimited review. I like his work. Even if he's like anti-woke and stuff, I do think sometimes and in some of his reviews, what he says makes a lot more sense than a lot of other anti-woke. Because I can see like
Mm-hmm.
people that just want to sell the anti-woke idea, and the people that try to be more critical. Like Critical Drinker is a good example. He doesn't like woke shit, but he also likes good writing. So with Torias Unlimited, sometimes I feel like he really wants to give a pass when he can, and it was basically saying all these opportunity the writer, if they were better, all these opportunity where they could make a joke about Immortal just dying for comic relief, like Kenny in South Park. Oh, Kenny died. You know, it's not that hard to like make funny stuff, even for someone that are not great at comedy. When you have such an interesting character and concept to explore, it's not that hard. But these writers are just really bad, and they cannot do that.
Mm-hmm. I swear to God, when Mr. Immortal popped up, though, it just that joke. We have the blank at home. That meme. Mommy, I want this. Oh, we have this at home. And then it's just like pathetic. Yeah, this is like we have the shade at home. This is the shade at home.
That for real, this episode was really painful, and I only had one like. So for once, I will start off by what I like before I forget with all the shit we had. What I like is we actually start seeing it's poorly written, as you said. It's not the best depiction of it, but we start seeing the struggle Jen has with She-Hulk. Um,
Yes. See, that's why it's not my worst episode. Like, I don't know which is. Honestly, the first episode might be, but that's why I give it, some points this time. But yeah, as you said, it's horribly done. God, that fucking They can't even make a proper Reddit. Jesus Christ, they fucked up the fucking font. That's not how Reddit is. Jesus Christ,
And
you're pathetic.
this is also interesting because they actually undermine themselves by the end because they're like, oh, She-Hulk is super. So basically, the entire episode, she's like, oh, I'm not cool because I'm not She-Hulk. And then at the end, she turned into She-Hulk and everyone praised her. I'm like, did you just clashed with what you wanted to say there? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It, it's just handled by really bad writers. It's so sad because for me, because it's not well executed, it's not enough to like. I gave a point here because this is not a full point, but I gave a bits of points here because that's something I liked, and I just wished it was better handled because you have the idea there, you just don't have the way to execute it well, and it's such a shame. Really, you got good actors around, like we enjoyed Wong. Like Wong is not that complex of a character. We just enjoyed him because of the actor, you know? So
Yep.
why is it so hard to just write something that makes sense? Now, with all of my dislikes, well, most of them repeat themselves every week. Bad dialogue, bad writing,
And
filler.
it feels like they give the actors no breathing room to kind of like just go, just kind of do something themselves. That's usually what a lot of shows and films do. They do have like some like how do you describe it? Like in the script or screenplay, like open to like to like I forgot the exact word, but just open to like trying to do your own thing, like come up with like different things in your performance in the scene. The actors do
Acting
like
chops?
yeah, but I forgot the exact word for it. Oh,
More
for
playground?
something. Yeah, I don't know. I'll try to come up with it later. But yeah,
Okay.
basically, just how in like like in a scene, like yeah, there's obviously the dialogue they have to follow, but they give the actors, some things, like sometimes like, hey, I mean, you can come up with something here if you want, or you can do something else, natural if you want. Just do your thing. You can tell in this show and every MCU show though, this is they do not let their actors do any of that shit. It feels so restrained. Like it
No
just feels
freedom.
so no freedom. It just feels like I get you have to follow it, but Jesus, but to the level they put restraints on their actors and actresses, it's just you can feel just how unnatural and just claustrophobic it is in the dialogue. Ugh.
All these jokes that don't land, it's just really sad to watch. And here again, each time they hate men and they have these weird dialogue and exchange between characters, they're like, is it a self answered from the writer? Is it the writer like projecting it or feeling in her case because these are girl obviously or feeling toward the opposite gender, you know?
Oh
It's
yeah. Oh,
it's
so
awful.
I just realized what the word. Yeah, improv. Yeah, improvisation. Yeah, improv.
Improvisation.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'm sorry. Anyway, carry on. But yeah.
It's very sad because this tarnished so much the show that is already damaged by bad press and negative reviews and review bomb as they call it. Look, the show doesn't help itself at all by hiring like bad writers like that. I will also say this: she had normal clothes right during the party. She didn't add her
Hmm.
super costume or anything else, right? She had normal
Yeah.
clothes, right?
Yeah.
So
Luke made her like the dress where she transforms in and
she
out, and
didn't
it's
wear
perfectly
it.
fine.
She didn't wear it. She said it earlier in the same episode. She
Oh
will not
really?
wear it. That's what she said, laughing out loud, throwing arrows at people, telling them, look, it's a superhero TV show and I don't suit up, you know? And at first, when she came at that wedding, her friend also told her, I only want Jen. So, she didn't add her super clothes. She had her normal clothes. They keep the suit revealed because they think it's a good reason to watch the show, but it's not. But that's what the writer
Mm-hmm.
think. So, yeah, that was her normal clothes. And when she turns, they don't get ripped apart.
Uh, well, I guess they probably just forgot that in this. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, honestly. Like,
Coming from
that's
these
just
writers,
lazy writing. It's like you remember that awful Will Smith, Jaden Smith film After Earth, that horrible sci-fi film they made that tried to like, and it won like worst film of the year at the Razzies. Yeah, there's this one scene where it's like in the ship you can breathe through like a mask without any wires and stuff, and it's like, it doesn't need any wires. You can just like breathe through it. The air is toxic. Um, yeah, they forgot they did that probably in the script for the film because they're like, they just saw these masks just around, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool, if we just added that in the film, wireless mask people can breathe into if the air is poison because it's the future, and they didn't realize that that would have an effect on the film because because in the fucking film he has to like breathe has to try to make it to this one place in like 2 days, and he has limited like air supply.
yeah,
That he gives him like these chips to breathe in to, or else he'll die eventually. And they
yeah.
didn't realize that then there were those masks there that defeats the whole. You could have just worn that the whole time. Like they forgot that that would be an issue in the script, and that's like this. They forgot the dressing. They're probably just like, so we made this, but then they probably forgot that it's a different dress. that she fucking. Oh my god. Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
that's not the only really major plot hole slash obnoxious mistake in the writing. Uh, in episode 1 or episode 2, I can't remember, they basically tell, yeah, when she's She-Hulk, she cannot get drunk because her metabolism, her body, like, it's able to, like, disable alcohol effects. But when she is Jen, she can get drunk. Now, that thing makes no sense for me. But here's the thing, these are their rules, and they decided that would be the way it
Yeah.
is.
I mean, it's like, yeah, you'll still have like the same metabolism and stuff, even if you don't transfer.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever. They don't use logic, but okay,
this
sure, whatever. If that's the universe we're living in, I mean, this is the universe with superheroes. So let's just
this
throw that
brings
away and
me
say it is.
to the writing issue. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ask Jen. They told us she can get drunk, right? She can get drunk. I will suspend disbelief because these are your rules, writer. This episode,
Yeah,
she's
and it's the universe with like whatever. It's the laws of this universe. So I guess
yeah,
like even
she
though it doesn't make much sense, but yeah, we'll just go with it.
she is drunk,
Mm.
and Titania decides to attack her when she's drunk, and Titania smash her scroll when she is Jen. Guess what? Plot armor 2000, she survives. Don't you see
Uh,
what I mean?
yeah.
Different body, different endurance. Titania has super strength. They told us she's different. She's not She-Hulk when she is Jen. So super
Okay.
strength should break her apart, right?
Yeah. Honestly, that should have at least like given her like a fucking concussion for life. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But here again, writers don't know their own rules, and this leads to the issue I just mentioned. Now, in the same fight, like the meat and the bulk of this episode, guess what? she struggled to turn into She-Hulk, and I'm like, the effect of alcohol, but then she successfully transforms. So I'm like, what was the point of her having that struggle at the first place? And as she was in that struggle, why does she need to turn into She-Hulk anyway if she can tank punch and she has endurance anyway as Jen? So what's the point? What's the need of turning into She-Hulk? Now, in the same scene,
Mm-hmm.
She-Hulk turns because plots want that to happen, and She-Hulk counterattack and smash Titania. Don't you think She-Hulk should be able to one-shot Titania? I mean,
Uh,
she is a
yeah,
walking
well,
tank.
look, are you trying to use logic on this show? It doesn't exist.
I know, but that's what I'm talking about. There's no good writing here. They tweak plot armor on everyone because it's funny to see a drunk Jan. Actually, it's not funny, but that's what they thought would happen. And this is funny because this leads to something I almost forgot to mention. One of the few likable guy at the wedding. Guess what? Common theory out there. He will be a villain. I really found it suspicious. I thought it was some kind of joke and the guy was kidding around with Jen and he wasn't really into her and he was just playing around to mess with her. But the common belief around is the only good guy or the only guy you think is good is actually the villain. So I'm like, my thought process of the guy being cool and messing around was not that far from the rest of the people. So that's kind of interesting, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of, I guess.
And that's interesting because if everyone sees it coming, maybe we can call this on lazy writing because you don't really need to think too much about that and this just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was painful. For me,
Yeah.
hands down the worst episode this show so far. I almost gave it a 0 for real. That would be the first 0 I would ever give to an episode of a TV show. But
Shit.
with the Gen aspect, the struggle they try to bring up but poorly handle, I gave it a 0.5. They deserve zero point 0.5 with this one. So 0.5 out of 10. What is your ranking?
I mean, I'm gonna give it a 1.5, just the 0.5% because I liked what they tried to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, this is as always awful. Holy fuck.
Before like
Uh,
before thinking about that episode, I was really thinking about giving it a 0, but then I was like, am I too harsh on that? And then I really tried my best to understand something that could be interesting to bring up as something I could like. And the only thing I came up with was Jen's struggle, but even there, it's not well handled. Because if it was better handled, I would give it a 1 or a 2. For me, it's zero point 0.5 because it's something I liked, but it's not well handled. It's really sad.
yeah.
I look each week. I come open minded. I know it will be bad, but I want to enjoy what I watch. I'm not into hate watching as I keep saying. I'm not doing a video every week. We speak about that on the podcast because that's Marvel and DC and that's the theme of the podcast. So I'm not hate watching it, but we need to speak about what went wrong so people can basically learn.
Hmm. Whatever. I'm kind of tired with people using that excuse. Don't watch it if you don't. Oh, fuck, just shut up.
Yeah, me too.
Again, there would be no films or shows given negative ratings or mixed ratings if that was the case. Everything would just be loved because everybody would just dip then if that's the case. That's not how fucking. That's not good film criticism or show criticism. Like Jesus fuck.
and there's no room to grow because, look, I am a French rapper. I'm not that great, but I used to really be trash. I started getting good after a few years in, and if I didn't listen to like some of the constructive slash negative stuff, I would never have improved. I have a really small follow, but I like doing it, and the constructive criticism, they really help me out improving and searching for how to make it different, how to make it work. I see writing being the same. If nobody
Yeah.
points out the flaws, if nobody give a 5, we won't be able to make the difference between a bad show and a good show, and the result will be there won't be any great show anymore. There won't be any good show anymore because we have no standard anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I I understand a bit like you don't like it, you don't watch it, but here's the thing: if this is something that could interest you, it's normal. You can get angry for what you get, and I resonate a bit with that kind of don't like, don't watch, but at other extent. What I mean by
What? Oh my God! Is this for Jesus, mother? What the fuck?
what
I'm sorry. I just saw something online and I'm just like my jaw just dropped.
what
Did
happened?
they really? Okay, you might have seen it. Do you know the YouTuber? No, I mean, you probably. I don't know if you know the YouTuber fucking Deji, but they actually confirmed this. If you don't know who Deji is, basically he's a YouTuber with like 10 million subs, and he's the brother of the most sub African American person on YouTube, and he's literally like the one of the most scrawny looking people you'll ever see in your life, and he's lost like 5 fights to utter pathetic looking people, and then just won his first one recently against some dumbass, and now they just confirm. What the fuck am I?
That's
Oh,
funny.
that's gonna be an execution right there. Rest in peace, Deji. Oh wow. Anyway, yeah, I just that shot. Yeah, that's more interesting than She-Hulk. Any
Yeah.
talk there? Jesus Christ.
So to go back to what I was saying, um, what I mean by there is I don't give a crap about Rings of Power, so I'm not watching it. But I do care about Marvel because there was a time I was on board with what was going on, and that time is now done. Does this mean I need to stop watching? No, I will stop watching if I don't want to watch anymore, not because I don't like what's going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, if I have no
I know what you
interest,
mean.
it's normal. If I got no interest, like, I'm not watching of Power, I'm not watching Star Trek. It's just not for me. So that's the line, I think. If you go out of your way to go take an IP you don't care about, but you pretend you care about it, that's something that goes wrong, I think. And this is probably my biggest issue with the anti woke crowd. The moment they will see a piece of media that doesn't align with them, they will go trash it even if they don't really care about it. They all they care about is anti woke. Do you know what I mean? They don't really care about these IPs. They only care about
Hmm.
the message they want to put out. And that's the big difference I think between me and them. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
I will never watch Ring of Power because I don't care about that, and I will not make 20,000 videos even if I know I will blow up on YouTube. I don't care. It doesn't interest me. But I want to like Marvel because comic book TV and comic book movies, they used to have great stuff, and even right now, maybe don't look at Marvel, look at DC like Stargirl, or look in the past to good Marvel stuff like Agents of Shield. Like overall, even if I'm not the biggest defender of Agents of Shield, I do think Agents of Shield had a lot of good in it. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
regret watching all 7 seasons. I do regret watching season 6. That was kind of awful, but it was still much better than She-Hulk. Like leagues
Oh
ahead.
yeah. I mean that's not even comparable. It definitely is. Like,
So, any closing thoughts on She-Hulk?
uh, no, that's about it. Honestly, I'm about done with that fucking shit.
Only
I've been
3 weeks to
done.
suffer through it.
Yay! I've been done with this fucking show since like the first 8 minutes of episode one.
Me too.
And they showed how she got her powers. So I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm already out. Okay.
Taps out. Boom boom pow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So,
So the film now. Okay,
S1e6. Oh my. Okay.
so there was something that okay, basically, it's been a while since I saw the film, and I did like I didn't rewatch it fully, so I might not quite remember what happened in like the last hour or so, but
Okay. So,
yeah, but basically, yeah, last week, yeah, again, we're going through all this guy's filmography, the French Canadian legend, and yeah, so
enemy.
this film, I was a little like, I was like, oh wait, this is a subtitle film, we should probably skip. I'm like, but then it said, oh right, this is in French Canadian or French and English. It
Yeah.
said online. Oh, okay, but then I realized, oh right, it's also
Half of it of
Arabic as well.
rubbish.
Yeah, Arabic as well.
Oh
So
my.
I was gonna. So here's the thing. I was gonna check to see how much of it is Arabic in subtitles, basically
Oh
for
my.
him, because he said he doesn't like watching subtitle films.
Yeah.
I got a little bit lazy though, so what I did was I Google searched it, and instead, and it had Arabic as the third language on it, below English and French. So I was like, okay, so that means it's only in there a little bit. Okay, so because otherwise I would have said, you can skip this and just watch Enemy if you want. But yeah, it turns out Google lied. It's fucking half of the film, over
Yeah.
half.
So,
Oh
I will
god.
summarize for you the last hour. It's fresh in my mind because I've seen it tonight. Uh, Coming into the stream, I like to watch just before the stream, so I've seen it tonight. So the last hour is basically the brother and the sister. Well, the brother goes. He tried to find his sister while his sister is investigating what's going on about their other brother. That's basically what happens. And during that last hour, we also learn all the past with the prison where the mother got raped by a guard, and we also get the big plot twist at the end where their brother is actually their father, and their father basically raped their mother, but that's also their brother. That's kind of weird put that way, but that's basically what happens in the last hour. And
Okay, I see.
I think
Yeah. I
the
mean, honestly, with the
letters.
story, I'm not gonna like go the story and like plot holes and stuff. I usually leave that up to you, but
Yeah,
yeah,
actually,
the film
there's
on its
not
own
that
though.
many plot holes.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm
It's
excited to
still
hear, but
it's
yeah,
still.
basically,
I
I'm just
have
gonna
the
say like my positives here quickly. Yeah, the one thing I would say was my biggest critique, honestly, was the editing. I do think like there was some choppy editing here and there, especially during some like shooting scenes and stuff. But outside of that though, like yeah, the cinematography was great. I mean, The acting was fantastic. Directing was fantastic. Very compelling story. I love the twist at the end, and yeah, kept you guessing. So yeah, definitely super well made film. Was really invested by, but yeah, I mean, there's honestly a lot that I learned, watching this as well, like certain countries and stuff that I didn't know before. But yeah, this was basically like the film that the first like mainstream feature film basically that yeah got Denis Villeneuve noticed. The first one he did was praised. I believe it's in like the top 250 on IMDb. And yeah, so that's how he then, did all the films in North America and got the funding for it afterwards, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so well, what were your positives and negatives about this?
Okay, I will say this. Plot hole wise, it's not that bad. There's no major plot holes I could spot on. I still find really weird the whole twist. Like the timeline is messy, I think, but
Yeah,
I don't
the
think
twist
it's
was a bit confusing. Like honestly, like in the first half of the film, it was a bit confusing as well. Like the different timelines and stuff. It took me a little while to get it.
yeah. I think uh that part of the movie is not really a plot hole, but it's confusing, and that bothers me a bit because it's not really clear when their father was born, and it's not really clear uh how everything happened. It's very confusing. Like we know their brother is their father because he raped their mother, and that part like it's weird. I will say that.
Yeah, I will agree. Yeah.
I liked the payoff linked to that. The two letters, the one letter for the
Hmm.
rapist and the one letter for the son. That was interesting. And by the end of the
Yeah,
movie,
I mean, I completely agree with you. Like, I loved the story and was invested by it, but yeah, it was pretty confusing, those things. But yeah,
and,
I mean, it had a good payoff.
and the whole ending was I felt something. I didn't add tear, but I felt something. I felt moved. Like I wasn't sure if I was like angry toward the rapist or if I was sad about what was going on overall, but I felt something. So I will say that in positive. I felt something during the end. So I do think the pays off at the end of that movie were good. I like the twist, even if it's confusing and I feel like they could have done it better. I still think it's a
Yeah.
good, somewhat payoff. Now,
Hmm.
my issue is the pacing. Oh my. Uh, I said pacing 4 times. I feel like this 2 hour movie could have lasted an hour and 20 minute ish. There's so
Hmm.
much they just throw there for world building, and I feel like this movie should not be 2 hour, and I at times I really felt like the movie was really long. Like I was really invested into what was going on to the daughter learning about her
Yeah.
brother past. That
I
was
mean,
the
honestly, me
best part of
personally,
it.
I definitely agree with you. They could have cut it down. It was definitely a lot of world building, but for me, since this is not like a normal play. Well, not something we normally view just this place. We don't know much about it. I think the world building fit it because introducing us to this world and all the things again is the the feel of it before
And
and also because in my opinion with how just every how people talk about places like this and you're always like on the edge of your seat in my opinion for like what's going to happen with the characters because you never know so
and
that's why for me the pacing wasn't as much of an issue, but otherwise, if that wasn't the case, yeah, I would probably agree with you there.
and I feel like they they told that fiction within a very realistic lens, and that was interesting. And I think they did that aspect of history in quote. I'm not quite sure if everything in that really happened, but I could see it happening because war does dirty things to the world and to people, and this is
Mhm.
a troubled place out there. So I can see most of it happening, um, and that's interesting because I I had some kind of flashback to Miss Marvel because Miss Marvel did try something similar, but here's the thing: with Miss Marvel, the whole history aspect, the whole like, let's try to make it like some kind of history lesson. It didn't work well because the show was a superhero TV show about a superhero finding herself out in that world, and that wasn't needed to understand the character and the story. They just splashed it in Miss Marvel because the writer of Miss Marvel were into that kind of stuff, and they thought, oh, we like fake documentary. With Incendies, I think we got a better version of what Miss Marvel did because the whole very realistic aspect of it is tied with the story and it's essential to the story. So even if my biggest complaint is the pacing and the very long time run of the movie, um, I still feel like the more realistic aspect to it was still very good and interesting. I liked it a lot. But as I said, the movie was too long, um, for me at least. And I feel like they did better than Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel tried to do what Incendies did, but they failed. And I think Incendies did it right. Uh,
Mhm.
because if you take out the aspect of the war, then you don't have a reason for the mother to end up in prison. And if the mother is not in prison, how does she meet her son slash rapist? So it's really tight, and the world and the war created the rapist. So I think that
Yeah.
kind of part of history makes sense, but you didn't need like 45-minute ish of exposition of the mother backstory and how she gave birth and stuff. You didn't need all that stuff, for me at least. Now, the other really big issue I had, they rely so much on subtitle. There are many ways you can make your way around. Now, I do understand how they felt. Well, I think I do understand how they felt. They were like, we want that fiction to be as realistic as it can be, and because this is on Arabic countries, we will make them speak Arabic. But here's the thing: there's a lot of ways where you can tell, you can show a story, and you don't really need to tell anything. And it's a bit sad because I feel like a lot of the Arabic dialogue wasn't really useful. It was just to give some kind of identity to the movie, and I don't really like that. Look, show don't tell. You can have sequence with Arabic people speaking Arabic, but the emphasis is not on the dialogue, so you don't really need to understand what they
Mhm.
say to understand what's going on the screen. The first
Also, I think
scene,
there's a film that came out last year of Matt Damon called Stillwater, and I think they did what you're describing
they
pretty well.
the first scene actually surprised me because they did what I am telling about. The first scene, the dialogue wasn't that important. It was what was going on the scene that mattered. And I wish there were more scenes like that splattered within the movie instead of just once and the rest is like so much lore and exposure to subtitle. I'm not there to learn Arabic culture. I'm here to learn the story. And I liked it when they used some characters with accent. You can tell they had accent. Sometimes they were speaking French, but you could tell they were not born where they usually speak French, and the accent was realistic, and I liked it. So there's many ways. Find someone to translate. Show instead of tell. And yeah, I feel like when you rely so much on subtitle, it's because you think dialogue is everything, and you need that dialogue. But I don't feel that need. I will give a good example. Well, I don't know if it's a good example because maybe it's just a website where I've seen Daredevil recently, like a few months ago. I have rewatched Daredevil, and there were no subtitle in the first season. We had many scenes where the Japanese were speaking Japanese, but you could still understand what was going on due to other
Hmm.
exchange in the same room and just before or just after or the reaction of the character. And I was like, that's cool. I don't really need to know exactly what that person said. What you can also do, don't rely too much on it because now you will end up with another issue, is ask someone to tell you the story. So it will feel natural that the person speaks to you in French a otherwise told story in Arabic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, personally, I don't have much of an issue with, because I watch a lot of subtitles films. I like it just fine. And also, after I'm done watching it, like when I think back on the film, I can just picture the characters in my head speaking, in like English, like what they said in the subtitles with their voices instead of in another language. So for me, I'm like cool subtitles, but I mean, I get your point though. I mean, they could like do that, sure, and it wouldn't be unrealistic. It would maybe even be kind of realistic if
Yeah.
foreigners go to a country, sure.
And I will add another very, very lazy way, but you put a disclaimer saying even if everyone speaks French, when you're in that country they speak Arabic, but do you know what I mean? Disclaimer. Every dialogue is put in French even
Yeah.
when you're like in that country. Like it's
Hmm.
lazy. It's my least favorite. That's why that's the last one I mentioned. I prefer all the other
Yeah.
ways, but
I get your point, but yeah, I mean, personally, I don't mind it much, but yeah,
so with my issues out of the way, I will tell this: the music. I think the music was great. The music was able to bring you in the universe on what was going on the feeling and the emotion of the scene, and they did set off the atmosphere of what was going on very well. The music, man, the music was great. I really like the music a lot. I think there was a bit too many supporting characters, but here's the thing: most of them are likable and interesting, and they do bring something more, even if there are maybe a bit too many for me.
hmm
Um,
yeah,
the daughter and the son, basically the brother and sister, were very interesting, and they were different. They felt like different characters, and the fact that the sister did her own investigation to like honor her mother memory was very interesting. I liked a lot each single scene where she asked around to people, what's up, what's going on, I want to know more, do you know that woman, do you know that person, I want to learn more, what happened. But here's the thing, that also goes back to pacing because a lot of people were like, I don't know her, I don't know her. So I'm like, okay, now it's like the 10th person that says I don't know her. I get it. She's not popular. No, not everyone used to know her. Do you know what I mean? It's normal. Like, you don't need to show like many scenes where they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't know that woman." At the end, only one person says, "Oh yeah, I used to know her." That was the janitor. The janitor was very likable. Um, Now, the story of what was going on, like the backstory, the lore behind the war and the conflict, was interesting. As I said, they did it much better than Miss Marvel did. Um, they also show how war affect everyone, and it's a serious topic, and I think it's well handled by good writer, and it's interesting. I think they chose well the war, the effect of war on child, and using child for war. What
Yeah, and I
what
mean we have seen it like well at least I've seen it before in like many films, and this is just another great one. But yeah, I've seen it in stuff like just the most recent example. There's a Netflix film Beast of No Nation with Idris Elba in it, which does a great job with that. But yeah, Blood Diamond as well with Leonardo DiCaprio. There's quite many, but yeah, yeah, City of God I believe is another one, the Brazilian film, but. Yeah, it's just another great, example of children in war.
yeah. Um so I enjoyed, and I actually have seen that movie in the past many years ago. Actually, I have seen it. I remember that I was in high school actually, like 10 years ago.
Which one?
Sunday.
Ah,
I had actually seen Incendies 10 years ago, and I will say this: I
nice.
liked it much more this time around than 10 years ago, because 10 years ago maybe I was too young and I wasn't mature enough to see like what a good movie is. If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean that was me with City of God, the Brazilian film. It's like touted as like one of the best of all time. It's in like the top 15 on IMDb, but I didn't like it when I saw it at first. But growing up, I appreciated it more. But I still can't get used to some of like the close shots, zoom in shots of the camera. But that's about it.
What made me like remember I had seen it was the scene with the bus burning, when they basically threw fuel on the bus to burn down the bus and kill people in it. That was basically the big scene that made me like remember I had seen that movie many years ago. So yeah, overall I think the payoff at the end were good. And I think this movie at first was 8 out of 10, but then comes my pacing issue. Pacing really bothered me a lot, so I took out
Mm-hmm.
zero point 0.5 point here, and the
Okay.
subtitle took out another point 0.5, so my final score was 7. And I remember liking much more Sicario over this one, so I'm
Uh
like
huh.
7. That's a more right number for my standards.
I see. Okay.
What was your score
Yeah.
of
Well,
this one?
personally, I really this is probably out of his full filmography, Denis Villeneuve. This is probably like my probably like my third favorite film from him. I would still say I like Blade Runner the most, and then one
Yeah,
other. But yeah, I would say I would give this a 9 out of 10.
that's interesting. We are not that far.
Yeah.
2 points is not that far when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm much more critical, and that bothered me much more. Like the pacing and the
Yeah.
the subtitle, that bothered me much more.
Yeah,
So
I mean, hey, if
these
this
are the
was in French
factors.
Canadian the whole time, then it would be more like an 8 out of 10. So hey, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
But
Um.
yeah,
Anything else to add before we move on to
no,
the?
that's about it. But yeah, I was interested in just listening to your opinions on it because I've seen it before, but I really was interested in hearing your thoughts.
I
Yeah,
also
and
think
uh, Oh yeah, sorry, go.
I also think the last wishes of the mother were very interesting and colorful, and this is what makes me believe that within
Hmm.
that piece of history, in some ways, there's clearly a lot of fiction in it. Even if they tried really hard to be realistic,
Yeah.
I can tell there's a lot of fiction despite the attempt to be realistic. I didn't take away that. I just thought it was a bit charming. The last wishes, what she asked her kids to do, find your brother. So
Yeah.
at the end they find out that's their father. In fact,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I'll say though, I'm gonna. So next week we're gonna do Enemy next, I guess, and
yeah,
that one's gonna be a very confusing film. It's very like it's a film where you really it's like interpretable, and you have to interpret kind of. There is like a main message to it all, so I'm gonna like bring some notes to that to like you know explain what the film is really about. If you don't figure it out yourself. Or if you
that's
want, there's
interesting.
like, or
Yeah,
if you want, you could watch a video yourself after it on it. Kind of
it
the best
depends if
video
I like it.
explaining it. Yeah, I mean the best video explaining it would probably be from Chris Stuckman. So,
Send me the link just in case I like it enough.
sure.
It's always
Um,
interesting to watch that kind of videos.
yeah.
So, the screening Werewolf by Night. What's about that? What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, right. So yeah, now we go to some movie news. But yeah, Werewolf by Night is gonna be like a Halloween special or something by the MCU. It's you know based off one of their things, like kind of like the Thing, and it's getting some rave reviews right now from an early screen and secret private screening they did. And if you watch the trailer, it looks like something new they're attempting. So I have some interest in it. Definitely. They
I
say the performances are really good. So I don't know what your thoughts on it are.
I didn't know about that. I've seen it passing by here and there. I had no clue it was
Hmm.
MCU related. I know you're more into comics than me. Is there any comics about that?
Well, not as much. That's like I'm not as much into comics, honestly. Like that's also why I'm pretty harsh with a lot of comic book IPs. And I hate the fanboys. I'm more into stuff like Dark Horse comics, if anything. But I mean, as for there's comics of it, or at least one that you could look up. But yeah,
That's interesting. So, what's up with that? Like, it will be horror like.
yeah, it's considered a horror. It was considered a comedy at first, but it changed to horror. So
Do you
yeah, that's the
really?
genre.
Do you really think they can nail it?
I don't know. I mean, it's TV-14. The rating will be R, but yeah, and it's not like it's just mainly a horror. They said they can completely remove the comedy in it. Like there might be a couple jokes here and there, but that's about it. So yeah,
Actually, because they removed the comedy, maybe.
yeah. Well, from the one of the genres in it, yeah, it was labeled because it was labeled as like comedy slash horror slash drama slash like sci-fi slash mystery slash a bunch of things, basically shitloads of things, but they removed the comedy in its genre listing altogether. So
Is it linked to reshoots, or they just came up and said, "Oh yeah, we are not funny at
well,
the end, so we will take
I
that
think
out."
I think what it is they were they wanted to film and doing like as a comedy as the focus, but they changed that during filming and just had it regular horror or something like that, or thriller or just mystery dark film some type of thing like that. So with like no comedy basically, and then they just updated it now to that. So I think that was what happened there, but I don't know really, but
I'm
yeah, I
I,
mean I don't know. I definitely recommend watching the trailer and check it out. See
Yeah,
if it
I'm
be interesting.
definitively more interested now because one of my issues with Marvel is the overuse of humor and funny stuff. They try so hard, it doesn't flow. Rewind. It doesn't flow naturally. I feel like it's no more a clever fun. It's no more a clever laugh you are getting. It's just like you need to laugh here because it should be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like this is what Marvel has become over the years. I don't know when this really happened. Is it phase 2, phase 3? I don't know when. And to be honest, I don't care. It's just my feeling of it. Like, if I think something is funny, I will laugh. You don't need to tell me to laugh. Don't hold my hand. You know, it's why I like clever fun. You know, Stargirl has
Mm-hmm.
many funny scenes. The Mothers again this week. Even if you have not seen it, be ready for the Mothers, man. When they have these
Mm-hmm.
scenes together, you will laugh. And they don't try hard. They just flow it naturally. They just know how to write dialogue. And I think that's the big difference because the hardest you try, the most likely you will fail. It's good trying, but don't try hard, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's never good to try hard. That's what they can't. But also, there's another thing as well. Is like, what was it called? Secret. Yeah, Secret Invasion. They're doing that, and that actually looks great. I don't know if you saw the trailer for that or anything, but that looks genuinely interesting. It's one of those like agent film. I don't know if you know much about Secret Invasion, but it's basically
I'm
it's a
very limited.
television.
I've heard
Okay, it's a
it's a crossover event, a bit like Infinity
yeah.
War, but on a bigger scale. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what I
basically,
know.
I'll read the premise. It's a 6 episode miniseries. Again, it's Fury and Talos try to stop the Skrulls who have infiltrated the highest spears of the Marvel universe. So basically, it's kind of like a. So the Skrulls are kind of like honestly like body swap like aliens. Like intimidate people for the time. Are kind of like when while they're away, doing something or like injured, they kind of like intimidate them and then try to their
Th-
looks and stuff and try to like take over that. So, and the show basically it's gonna be like a special agent film, with like a lot of dialogue and stuff. Something you might be into, and yeah, basically gonna have to try to figure out who like the scrolls are and stuff.
that's interesting.
And yeah, and I think yeah, it has a stack cast as Olivia Colman, Samuel L. Jackson, Emilia Clarke, Kingsley Benadir, Martin Freeman, Don Cheadle. Has a pretty stacked cast.
I'm guessing War Machine is in it because Don Cheadle is there.
Maybe I don't know. The only one that I know is it's probably Kingsley is like the leader of the Scrolls, I believe, the Rebel Scroll leader. So
That's interesting. When this will be put online or wherever they want
uh,
to make us see it.
so the release date's gonna be. Mm, there's no exact release date for it yet. It just says 2023, so we'll see. It'll probably be early next year.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's two things Marvel that making that I actually have interest in now. So that's surprising.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward for the Marvel. I'm just excited about that much more than Daredevil, because I'm really scared of what they will be doing with 18 episodes with one of my favorite Marvel
Hmm.
character. What will they do with it? Actually, I think he is my favorite Marvel character when I think about it. Either it's him or Iron Man, one of these two. So that's to tell you like how I don't have much faith into whatever they have planned for Daredevil.
Yeah, I guess.
Man. Uh,
Uh, yeah. What other news was there? Apparently, okay, yeah, right. Black Adam. So that's coming out in October. I don't know
yeah,
if you're gonna see that.
yeah, we will see that and we will cover it if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I'll be honest. I'm not a huge fan of the look of it visually. I think it kind of has like a the same color palette and isn't like the best looking. It kind of like just yeah, just sticking to the same color palette. Not really. And the lighting's not fucking great there, but and I was just it looks like the typical Dwayne Johnson film, not really a Black Adam film, and it got mixed reception in the test screenings and all that. But at the very end, the trailers looked kind of poor at first. But I'll say though, the very last trailer they showed for it though made it look a lot more fun. It looks like the action scenes will at the very least be fun and enjoyable. It looks a lot better than other ones, with the characters trying to like stop him, or like restrain him from like doing damage stuff and turning himself in. That looks at least fun. So that there's my expectations for it. I don't have like the highest, but yeah.
You know, my biggest worry here, I will repeat myself. I think I've said it like 4, 5, 6, 10 times. Too many character. I really hope
Oh yeah.
they will handle that cast well. And I want to care about every character they put any emphasis on. Like, it's DC, and they are known as messing up things. I want them to like just do a good movie to like tell people, look, they can still do good stuff. You know, Shazam was well received. I enjoyed Shazam a lot.
That's definitely
Aquaman.
my favorite DC film so far from them.
Aquaman, I enjoyed it a lot as well. I think I preferred Shazam. I think Shazam was much more relatable and much more likable, I think. Um, yeah, like they can do good stuff. Wonder Woman, and I'm also one of the few that actually like Men of Steel, but they can do
Uh,
good stuff.
I mean, I like Man of Steel in areas, but overall, just the entire story and just character arc and everything of Man of Steel goes completely against what Superman actually is. It's like Zack Snyder did not understand the character in that or the characters in BVS. It's insane, but whatever.
But they need to have some wins here, and it's not because you bring the Justice League, or I should say the Justice Society, that you will do it well. You know, like Stargirl is doing it because they take their time and they're good and they seem to understand the characters or to make them interesting at least. So the movie, they want to use other character from the same group. They need to do it well, otherwise people will be like, DC is only good for TV, and you'll be like, oh, you're not lying here. So I'm looking forward to see it. Probably
Yeah, I mean,
opening
I hope it's
weekend.
at least entertaining, like Bullet Train. Like, again, I wasn't into Bullet Train as much, just I thought it was, yeah, not the best, compared, because I see a lot of films, so
Yeah,
in comparison to others, I didn't like it as much. I give it, like, I think a 5 out of 10, but a
yeah.
5 out of 10 is average, passable, that's solid, entertaining, popcorn flick for sure, so I'm hoping that Black Adam at the very least is that, but or even like at worst a 4 out of 10. Like, and anything below a 4 out of 10 is I will not ever rewatch it, as you said before.
I feel you. I feel you. Uh, anyway, anything else to add?
No, that's about it, I guess. Unless you got any movie news you want to talk about.
Not really. I'm not really up to date Oh yeah, I wanted
Uh,
to ask you. Did you start at Gotham at last?
um, not yet, but well, actually, I did watch the first episode.
What did you
Uh,
think of the first episode?
I would say so far it's the same of what I thought of it before. Again, good actors and characters. Good job. Anything else about the show? At the very least in season one, pretty bad.
Yeah,
Basically, an actor character show, and everything else is like secondary.
yeah.
It's like this. Again, at the very, I stopped at season one. You said it starts to get good after season one or season two,
I
but
think it got better each year, and
okay.
season two, I think, based on what I remembered, and I now right now I am into season two right now. So I'm not done with season two yet, but based on what I remember from 8 years ago, 7 years ago, when the TV show first aired, season two had an amazing start and a bad back half because what they basically did with season two and three, they separated all 22 episodes into two arcs, and that was very interesting to do that because that gave like breathing room to storylines and characters. And I feel like season one, like outside of most of the Penguin storyline in season one, most of season one is filler, and it's really sad. Like the kind of political aspect to the season one was interesting, but it was lacking in other areas. Like it was freak of the week aspect, but they leaned so much on it that season one is really rough. But since it's your first time watching, I still suggest to like watch it like to the end because, as I said, they really try really hard to connect Penguin in every single episode or Fish in every single episode. And I think like without giving away anything from season one, my two big complaints about season one are pacing. I feel like every episode they want it to be bigger than what it should be. Like they all last for like 44 minute ish, but I feel like most of the episode can be trimmed down to 40 minutes. And you're saying it's only 4 minutes, but for me it's a lot considering there's 22 episodes, so there's a lot of minute. Like at the end of the season, you end up with like maybe 2 or 3 full episodes you can just trim down, if you know what I mean. And the other really big issue I had with season one was these plot device character. Oh my. Some are very likable. You will get to meet them soon. But other plot device character, I'm like, man, what's the point of that character outside of I'm here to push the storyline further? And it's really sad. It's really sad. They can do better. Now, based on what I see right now with season two is much better. But I remember the back half being rough. Um, so, yeah, I think the show got better each year based on what I remember. Season 1 is clearly the worst. And, yeah, I cannot wait for you to discover yourself. Even if season one is very flawed, I think there's still enjoyable moments and it's still relevant to the bigger picture because most of the things in season two are built above season one. So even if a lot of things are filler in season one, it's still worth watching, I think.
Okay, I see. Well, yep, I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, I mean, I'll just yeah. Season one is. I just can't wait to. I can't wait to get through it, so then I can get to the better seasons, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah. As I said, like, I don't want to spoil too much because.
Honestly, this show just in season one, it feels like a not a show, but just like an audition tape for like each actor to
Yeah,
play a character, or like the character designs.
yeah. I also think during season one, the further you go in the season, the better it gets in itself. I think the weakest episode are like the first bunch, but when you get to the meat of what's going on in Gotham with Jim and Penguin, this is where it's getting more spicy. And there's also Falcone. I think you met Yes, you met Falcone. Falcone is the big fat guy, the big boss of the criminal underworld. I think you met him. Did you?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the fat guy. Yeah, I met him.
Um, he is a very interesting villain, and that's all I will say. Um, I I think season one, like, to give you an idea, the episode number 21, I think I gave it like a 10 out of 10, and like the other end, there's like episode 17, Red Hood Gang, I gave it 5. So sometimes it's hit and miss. Some episodes are amazing, other are like, okay, that's just fine. But season 2 so far, as I said, right now, I just finished episode 7 tonight. It's been consistent and it's been really good. The weakest so far in season 2 was a 7.5. So season 2, really good so far.
Well, I'm excited, but yeah, I'll tell you when I get to them again. It's gonna be probably a while until I finish Gotham season one to review, because
Yeah,
at least a few streams, because
yeah.
this is the time of the year where
You watch
I really start
movies.
like binge. Yeah, this is when all this stuff comes out, and I'm big into movies, so yeah, and then doing like lists at the end of the year. So yeah, but yep, when I have the time eventually, I'll push through. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah, so I
telling
guess
you,
that's about it.
it's getting better based on what I remember. And I remember
Yeah, next
season
week.
3 being a very
Uh,
good highlight.
oh,
Um,
season 3.
Season 4 is a blur for me, but I
Mm-hmm.
think season 3 is the first consistent season I remember liking from start to finish. Because as I said, season 2 had an amazing start, and the second arc of season 2 started off strong, but it got weaker and weaker and weaker. But I remember season 3 having two great arcs. And I will be honest, season 4 was a blur for me. And I remember season 5, but season 5, I won't really blame it on the show. I will blame it on the network canceling the show and telling the writer, look, you got 13 episodes to wrap up everything. So, um, yeah, season 4 is a blur, but here again, remember with Jessica Jones' third season, that was a blur for me, and it actually turned out to be good. Well, I
Yeah.
remember one thing in season 4, Razalgo. That's all we'll say, but that's the only thing I remember. I don't even remember what kind of character he was. I only remember he was there and the league was there. That's all much of a blur this was.
Yep. Okay. uh.
So yeah, thank you again for coming here. It's always great
Thank
having
you
you.
for understanding again. But yeah,
It's
next
not your
week 2
fault.
episodes. Yeah, I know, but
Life happens, you know, and
yeah,
you take your time. And when you launch your own channel, count on me. You don't hesitate to let me know. Like,
yeah.
um, usually, like I'm available a lot. I have a lot of free time, and even
Hmm.
like since it's more a podcast, I will be more available like on weekend because on weekend I don't work. But even on weekday, I can wake up a bit earlier, and I don't mind waking up a bit earlier if it's to help out, you know?
Yep. I'll understand, but yeah, okay. Thanks again. But yes, next week 2 episodes of Stargirl. That will be a lot of fun. And
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
I think Stargirl is going on break soon. I don't know when, but they take a 1 week break because they want the season to end in December, which
I see.
is weird. So I don't know when they will pick that break. I hope it's not this week. I don't know when, but I know it's soon. It's probably just before the two-parter because I know there's a two-parter by the middle of the season. So I hope it's just before the two-parter, like episode 6. Episode 6. Anyway, 2 episode next week, man. That will feel good, man. 2 episodes of Stargirl after She-Hulk. Matt Murdock is coming in She-Hulk, bro.
Yep.
He will be murdered.
Uh,
Murdoch will be murdered. Anyway,
Hopefully.
I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. Like, comment, and subscribe. All the good stuff. I wish you